Hello and welcome to Simply inTAXicating. Though it was largely believed that indirect tax is going to be missing in this budget except for the customs part, but a few changes which we have seen now and rather drastic changes in the customs side perhaps will give the impression that the indirect tax was certainly an integral part of the union budget this time. Lots of interesting changes in the custom apart from fiddling with the tax rates. But so far as GST is concerned, unfortunately, there was just a passing reference to GST. In fact, the economy, the nation, the taxpayers were expecting the finance minister to come up with some kind of roadmap. Probably the finance minister was expected to admit the technical glitches being faced by the taxpayers. What has gone wrong with the GST? The finance minister, as the head of the GST council, also made it mandatory from 1st February, the day the budget was presented, the e-way bill. Things went wrong again. So probably the nation expected him to talk about it. But anyway, the GSTN, the finance minister talked about the GSTN data is going to be linked with public sector banks, loans, particularly for the MSME sector. He talked about, probably he picked up certain lead from the economic survey, where economic survey has focused more on the implication and the type of data which has been gathered in last 6 months. So apart from that, of course, we will touch the e-way bill today. We have 4 domain experts. We have Mr. Sumit Dutt Majumder, former Chairman, Central Board of Excise and Custom. We have Mr. R Sridhar, Senior BP, Hindustan Coca-Cola. We have Mr. Bimal, Jain, Chairman, Indirect Tax Committee, PhD. And we have Mr. Puneet from Nitya Associates, our knowledge partner for this episode also. So let me start with, sir, looking at the budget, of course, it was largely direct tax side, but the custom side he has done quite a few changes. So how do you look at this, the indirect tax side, sir?
We expected, we the citizens of India, I think most of us expected there will be some, which you mentioned as the roadmap, some outline that, and we know that the GST Council will be meeting soon. One major thing is that there has to be some the Act amendment with certain decisions which have been taken to that contrary to the what is at present there in the Act. And some more are necessary. So all those things, but I think finally in the second part of the budget session, they will place the bill. In between they will have a GST Council meeting and then they place the bill and they will get it cleared in this budget session itself.
Right.
So I can expect that GST will have some sort of stability after that. And I really sincerely hope after that they don't make any changes. There's too many changes, make the trade and everybody quit, because you have so many
right.
issues.
Absolutely.
So this is the GST part. Now, as you said, the customs is, if you look at the customs changes, both on the rate side as well as on the, what do you call it, the procedural simplification. You mentioned about ease of doing business and all, trade facilitation and all. I see that, there are things that this protectionism is a buzzword in the world now.
Right.
And I don't find anything wrong in it. I'll tell you why. Because it is in the interest of the nation. So whatever national interest. And if you look at this, WTO has been functioning from 1990. So now it is about 28 years.
Right.
How many agreements they have signed finally? Only one agreement.
Right.
That is the performance of WTO. And that is the trade facilitation agreement.
Yes.
That also with India's help, because otherwise there are a lot of issues on that. Now, and if you look at it, gradually the world is becoming multipolar. This is not, not multipolar, it's a bipolar. It is WTO is a multipolar arrangement. So we are having agreements with Sri Lanka. We are having India is having agreements with Singapore,
ASEAN,
like that.
Bipolar, yes, sir.
Either a small group or individual country. So in this atmosphere, it is only expected that each country will look after its interest. US is also doing it. So I won't be a critic of the steps taken here. Because I saw some newspapers and some experts have been commented that there's been too much of protection and all those things. So now if we see that the duty has been reduced on certain items, I find it a very good thing that raw materials and components they have reduced. That will help the manufacturers. particularly the small business have been very badly hurt in after the initial implementation of GST. So they'll get some fillip because they'll have some more, I think. So the raw materials have to be imported. After the next stage, they'll do it with us. So that will help in Make in India. And if you see that the duty, customs duty, wherever they, I'm not going to that, I think others will talk about it later. The customs duty where it is increased is also, we find that these are where we are already in the world market, so that it can be competitive. And there's some, I'm using the word dumping, but not as anti-dumping rules. So a lot of goods are coming from different countries, and I don't want to name them, and then electronic items, mobile and all. So anti-dumping measures are not working. Directorate General of Safeguards have given us that is also not working properly. It's very difficult. So I think they have done a good thing. So they have put the, either they have increased the rate of duty on those items, like your mobile and all.
Right,
and it will definitely help indigenous companies led by Mr. Reliance Jio. And then others, I think Macromax. Macromax.
Yeah, we have quite a few brands, sir. Yes.
Brands are there, so they will be doing
right, sir.
And then agricultural produces also. They have increased because, you know, last few months GST had badly affected the farm sector, which was quite evident from the election results, also state assembly results. So as you've seen that quite a few emphasis was on the farm sector when in his speech. So that those things are good, and these items they've done. Now the customs procedure part.
So we will touch procedure later, sir. Okay. Since you have touched the protectionist point, we will touch.
But I'm supporting that in India's interest, it has to be done.
Perfect, sir. Let me go to Puneet ji, sir. Let's touch that rate change which sir talked about. You know, the certain items talked about the component side, the raw material side. So how do you look at the entire dynamics of change vis-a-vis finished product and the raw material?
So this is a feature not only in this budget. So in last few budgets, if you see, the government is gradually reducing customs duty on raw materials to give a fillip to Indian manufacturing. And in this budget, they have gone ahead in which they have imposed or increased custom duty on finished products also, ranging from automobile components to mobile phones to cosmetics to juices. Generally, there is a 10% increase of customs duty. So yes, with this, the government clearly wants domestic manufacturing to increase, and it's a big discouragement for importing the products. They have imposed a surcharge also of 10%.
Yes.
So this surcharge is applicable on the basic custom duty only. Generally, the basic custom duty on the products ranges from 5 to 10%. Earlier, we had an education cess of 3%, which is now a surcharge of 10%. So there is a 7% increase, which ranges from 0.35% to say 0.7%. So in general, if you are importing the products, yes, there is an increase in cost tariff, that as well. So yes, government surely wants to encourage domestic manufacturing, but one should really think that why companies import the products. Do they import the products for any duty benefits, or is Indian environment really conducive for manufacturing? You will see more and more companies getting out of manufacturing and getting into trading business because they found imports to be cheaper. So I really doubt whether the right way is to increase the duties or create a more conducive environment to encourage manufacturing like we see in China. So many manufacturing hubs come up.
Okay. Maybe Bimal ji, you can touch this point because it's a very, very, very critical point you have touched. Because it's a very tricky situation for any nation, for any economy and decision makers particularly, whether we should raise the tariff wall or whether we should encourage the domestic manufacturing by reducing the tariff wall so that raw material could be sourced. Because we have to also look at that to what extent Indian manufacturers, they are not finding cheaper raw materials in India and they have to depend on imports. Maybe. So, maybe what has been your observation looking at this?
My observation to this point would be that in the name of globalization, we should not allow others to come and take our market. We have to provide them some support. And whatever initiative taken to promote Make in India need to be, we understand that we need to make our atmosphere conducive for manufacturing, but we are struggling on a number of fronts So maybe one of the issue that if we increase the custom duty rate to promote Make in India, not a bad idea. But at the same time, we have to look at by increasing the custom duty rate, whether you're really promoting Make in India. That is a big subjective issue. But alongside, when you talk about Make in India, I would like to highlight one thing which Puneet was referring to, that you look into GST, whether you are trader or manufacturer, we both will pay IGST on import of goods. So what happened, trader in pre-GST era used to get only 4% SAT refund. Right. Now he will get credit of IGST full. Then why he will do Make in India? Right. So we have to look at other policies as well to see that when you are really looking Make in India, ensure that the trader of imported goods are not getting advantage at par with the manufacturer. So this is my point which I would like to highlight. Now when you talk about Make in India, and we all time say basic custom duty, you can't tinker. They say WTO concept. Always they highlight it. Now they have tinkered with. This Make in India was a long time initiative of Honorable Prime Minister. Now first time they have taken this initiative. By this initiative, they have identified the sector like electronics or consumer durables. Right. But there are other sectors as well, those require some support. Of course, it's a good idea reducing custom duty rate on raw material and make raw material easily available at lesser cost to promote Make in India. But apart from custom duty, there are many other factors which Puneet has also touched upon, and I'm also referring to. We have to look into infrastructure should be ready. Now this year budget is focusing on infrastructure. Maybe we will have weightage and promotion to Make in India.
No, you are also going to contribute infrastructure sales.
Yes.
So it will be better.
Yes.
So sir, you have a supporter for this protectionism theory, but with certain conditions. Let me go to Mr. Sridhar.
See, I think there is one aspect which has been missed out. I think I was telling Puneet also before we started. There is something called middle segment consumerism. You move from chapter 10 to chapter 40. I stop with chapter 40 because that's where the consumer side ends. It starts with perfumes, goes to watches, it goes to imitation jewelry.
Yes.
It goes to personal products.
Yes.
It goes to preparations for oral dental hygiene.
Right.
All what I am talking about is all concerned with middle segment consumerism.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, to the extent of people wanting some more imported products and it being freely available, an extra element of BCD is revenue to the government. Suppose you look at it, don't look at it from the Make in India side.
Right. Right.
So is there anything wrong? I don't find that aspect is not wrong. But out of this, how much? There's one way of looking at it. You have taken a tariff rate increase. How much is the effective increase? Effective increase mainly is hit juices.
Right.
But other things are falling under the tariff rate increase. Now our larger point is that whether this is going to really answer the larger solutions of revenue, because other aspects have been touched off, I am not very quite convinced on that also. But looking at this, the larger protection for local industries, I think that's a very, very nice concept if you were to really support it.
So, sir, I mean, overall, the consensus is that Make in India is fine.
Yeah,
you know.
One point I missed, Sally, while this was saying. You see that this surcharge and cess, you will see they've reduced customs duty, increased the surcharge. In many items, effectively it is the same. But the thing is that I see a lot of issues will be arising. You know, the surcharge and cess are not shared between center and states.
Correct.
By lowering the customs duty and putting the center is getting more money, states will
get
be
less.
suffering.
Get less.
When the states wake up to this, I think there will be a lot of issues.
I would like to also highlight one more.
Yes.
Honorable Finance Minister has said excise duty and service tax subsumed in GST, so nothing to be done. But don't we think that petrol and diesel, which is existingly taxable central excise duty and VAT, required by any manufacturing sector and service sector? We pay central excise and VAT, of which no credit available. He has not given any kind of clarity by when GST Council going to decide that at least petrol and diesel should be included into GST. That is creating more cascading. You are promoting India but half-hearted.
Let's touch that procedural aspect. You know, some of the interesting changes which have been made in the customs side with respect to the dispute resolution, for instance, the Customs Act being amended to bring offences committed outside India within the purview of Customs Act. You know, interesting changes. Maybe you would like to highlight a few.
Yes, so many changes have been made under the customs law. Starting with the adjudication process. Under excise or service tax law, we used to have a process of pre-consultation, that before department issues a show cause notice, they will formally call you, indicate to you what are the charges, etc. So similar concept has been introduced under customs law also, but in last few years in excise and service tax law, we have seen that this process has been totally ineffective, and it's just a formality. So a taxpayer goes to the officer, he tries his best to convince the officer that why show cause notice should not be issued, and everything is not given any weightage, etc. So I really doubt what purpose it served under excise and service tax laws, and whether it was actually needed or not. If this process has to be followed very judiciously and in all open mind, yes, then this process can be effective. But yes, under the customs law, they have introduced this procedure. One of a very significant and forward-looking change which I have found is that the customs law says that for show cause notices, this is the period in which they have to be adjudicated. In exceptional circumstances, that period can be extended also. Now the government has provided, if adjudication does not happen in that specified period, it shall be deemed that show cause will never be was never issued.
Right.
So which in effect it means that all charges which are made against the taxpayer, that goes.
Right.
So in my view, this is a very important change, because day in, day out, we see that show cause notice is pending for years. There is no accountability, and this will not only help in adjudication of the show cause notices, but the disputes will start going to, even if the assessing officer is not agreeable, disputes will start going to the next level early. There have been some major changes under the advance ruling also. Under advance ruling, presently advance ruling could have been applied only for a proposed activity. So if I am a regular importer of the products and I have a doubt on the classification or exemption, etc., I was barred from going to the advance ruling authority, where there was no logic.
Right.
If there is a genuine doubt today, even if I am doing this business for last 20 years, why there is no forum available to me to go and ask, what is your view? So to that extent, the scheme of advance ruling has been liberalized. There is no restriction that what sort of activities are covered.
Yeah, that
so
is
any
amended,
importer, exporter, etc., whatever doubts he has, he can approach to the advance ruling authority. Another change which has happened, which I say is not positive, is previously we used to have an advance ruling authority, which was like a settlement commission or a tribunal bench, where 2 or 3 independent members used to hear and give their own fair decision.
Right.
Now it has been made a 2-stage process. So the first stage is that a commissioner or principal commissioner will be the first stage who will decide what is his ruling. And all of us know that what will be their general stand. It is likely to be pro-revenue only. And today's advance ruling authority has been converted into an appellate authority. So if you don't agree with the commissioner on his ruling, you can go to them. So in terms of the scope, yes, it has been surely broadened, but
to what
in my
extent
view,
it will be effective, that is not known.
Yes, in my view, at first stage, whether you will get a right or I'll say a bias-free ruling, that is
Mr. Sridhar wanted to talk about this advance.
Take on this. Last year in 2017, they transferred all the matters to the Advance Ruling Authority of Income Tax.
Yes.
And now, if you read the law wholesomely with regard to advance ruling, as Puneet was saying, it will get retransferred back to this authority.
Yes.
Now, an advance authority for income tax is headed by a retired
Supreme Court judge, yes.
Yeah. So to that extent, I'm with him. That is one aspect of it. Under the GST law, on this very forum, we have discussed lot of times on inTAXicating.
Yes.
This aspect of advance ruling, appellate authority. If there is a difference of opinion between 2 members, it shall deem to have not been filed. There is a contrary provision in GST.
Correct.
So whenever we discuss customs, we also need to see what's the other side of the whole story.
Yes.
So that is the second aspect to it. On the procedural side, there are 3-4 issues which which I feel will not help the situation. There is a provision that if there is a larger period show cause notice and it fails, it will be considered for merits for the smaller period. Now, I don't have to discuss this. When a larger period show cause notice is at least framed, the slant of the show cause notice, even if you see the 2017 March circular of how everything was issued, the one master circular was issued, show cause notices are not coming that way. The show cause notice will start with 2 paragraphs of how the investigation came and found it. So if the slant itself is towards a larger period, how can somebody sitting in the tribunal with a judicious mind, all our members are well informed, very judicious. If somebody reads that show cause notice, you come with a preconceived notion. What is left for the smaller period, I am not able to understand. Because 3 paragraphs out of the 8 paragraphs, you are only taken care to call me a cheat.
Yes. Revenue bias apart, of course. I mean, economic survey also touched that point.
Some more points on procedure.
Yes, sir.
Can I make it?
Yes, please, sir.
Before you go to the other
Yes,
topic.
sir.
One is on that, the new thing, that within 3 months, if you don't adjudicate and then don't reply and they don't reply, then you lose the right and the goods remain with the department. Now, as a practical problem I'm putting, because having worked in the department for a long time, if you go to the one that goes to the docks, piles up all the goods which are left behind and all, and disposal is an issue.
Yes, right.
So this will create a huge problem for the department. I don't know how this, I know the coalition, if at any point in time they come, let them pay their work rent or other things and take the goods away. Why it confiscate and all? To put pressure, there are other means. So this is one point. Secondly, I don't know why they brought back again one which was told by everybody as a reform, that as an appellate authority, you can't remand for you decide and all. But I find that this has been brought back again.
Yes.
That you can remand. And well, whatever, if an appellate authority finds that it is a ticklish issue, you'll say that some ground will be formed and send it to the original authority. Because that procedure was quite good. Because appellate authority, one may ask that how will appellate authority decide as an original authority? But appellate authority has had the authority at that time to collect a report from the field formation.
Right.
That these are the issues have been raised, and these are the fact. I want fact, not law.
Right.
On fact point, these are things you come in, and then you should decide. So this is a very, I don't know what prompted them for doing this.
I'm sure the remand will help the revenue. That is why they have got it. The remand, probably the limitation period.
No, on the remand point, what they have done is they have said in these 3 situations, like if principles of natural justice have been violated, he can remand.
I know, but then there is no difficulty in finding that the reasons in any of the cases.
No, the only thing is this amendment they brought around 8-10 years back in excise and customs that he does not have
income tax,
authority
you can't
to remand.
remand.
Yeah, yes.
But the high courts have consistently held that if he is an appellate authority, it is his inherent power that if something he cannot adjudicate, like some documents have to be seen, etc. So he has power to remand. So day in, day out, the courts hold that even though statutory provision is silent about remand, the appellate commissioner can remand the matters back.
No, that's all right. But then if you have it in the law itself, then I will see, and a few years, immediately the remand will start.
No, the problem will start. See what happened just a while ago, that we were told that there is a definite time period for adjudication. 6 months non-fraud cases, 1 year for the fraud cases, which can further extend it by 6 months and 1 year. If not, then there is no so-called notice, no demand exists. So there's a definite time frame. With the remand back power, what happened? You are extending the time period. When the commissioner appeal can get the information from the field, why can't he decide the subject matter? Why is remanding back and extending the time period again?
The one point I missed on the previous topic, can I go back?
Please,
sir.
Please.
Small point.
Yes, sir.
I find it very important. This was an opportunity for the finance minister. A lot of people have been writing about it also. There are too many rates in customs. You know, right now I counted, it comes to around 19. I might have missed some, but I found 19 rates are definitely there. No, 19 rates, it only gives the scope to have dispute in classification. And that's why when in the same means Government of India, and you have the GST 4 rates and all, and you have 19 rates. So this was an opportunity to rationalize it and make it smaller. Then the disputes would have come down on the classification at least.
Right,
so
sir.
this is the other point.
I
It's
agree
not
with
on
you,
the
sir.
procedure. I just thought.
Yes, sir. I mean, we will touch now the e-way bill because we have touched the mega issues in customs.
Right.
Maybe Puneet, e-way bill side, what has been your experience? I'm pretty sure the first was a very interesting experience.
Yes.
So maybe you.
So e-way bill.
Maybe
it's-
an alternative you could suggest
Yes.
to the finance minister,
Yes.
to the GST council,
Yes.
that what they have thought and what they have thought was implemented on first, it has not worked.
Right.
So what could be the best, the alternative for the GST council to take up this issue again? In any case, they are not going to leave it like this. They are going to, Revenue Secretary apparently said that we will do it immediately.
8-9 days more.
They have pulled up the GST in, they said that I just cite
Pullback,
somewhere.
yeah.
The GST has been pulled up.
In 8-9 days, there are some glitches, and 8-9 days it will come.
It will come. So what is the alternative which you would like to suggest?
Right. So e-way bill, it started on trial basis on 16 January. Few people tried. 1st February, all of us know what happened. So since morning, we have clients calling that they are not able to generate way bill. We supply material 24/7. What we should be doing, etc. And in the evening, there is no notification. There is a tweet saying that e-way bill has been deferred. So all of us know that in past few months we saw a fake notification also going around.
Yes.
So people had doubt whether this has actually been done away with or not.
Yes.
The notification came subsequently only. Even though the government has deferred this way bill, but the states are still continuing with that. So in today's newspaper, a table has been put that different states, some state is saying from 10th February, some from 15th
Sorry,
February,
yes.
from 25th February. And particularly for companies having multi-state operations or having all India operations, keeping track of that,
It's tough time.
different states have different products list on which way bill is applicable or not applicable. And most importantly, when we talk about alternate, firstly we need to think whether there's a need of way bill or not. The whole premise of GST was that under VAT we have this check post where the trucks stand for hours, etc. We need to fasten the movement of goods within the country. This was the whole purpose of bringing in the GST. Again, the government always say that it's a self-assessment regime. You assess your taxes correctly and pay it, and that's end of it. Then why way bill is actually needed? So, in my view, I have a doubt whether any alternate is needed or not, and whether way bill will work as an effective anti-evasion or an
Right.
investigation mechanism or not. I doubt that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bimal, I mean, let's go by the premise that government strongly believe that they cannot do without e-way bill in any case. So, if government of India has to, or the GST Council has to, come up with a solution for the e-way bill problem, what should be that solution?
Straightforward. The first thing they should do, the invoice matching concept, which they are looking for. They are struggling with. GSTR 1, 2, 3 struggling with. They should develop GSTN for the invoice matching if they want to have, e-way bill can be avoided. But what could be alternative mechanisms in this regard? For interstate movement, they should at least start from 1st of April 2018, give 2 months time period, trial period, not only for the taxpayer, even for the department to understand how their system works. When glitches comes and we post queries to the government officer, we never get answer. Help desk we have seen. So 2 months for the trial version interstate and no intrastate. For intrastate, you will be surprised to know that each state is giving their unilateral version of effective date, and that too Gujarat is an example. They are talking about intrastate applicable only for 19 products. Just think of poor position of a taxpayer. He has to really manage everything, Excel sheet ready with the state-wise date of application, product applicable, not applicable.
Classification issue, whether they are 19
Yeah.
products.
Yes.
Tomorrow one more could be added by another notification.
And then
keep track of that.
That track, and subsequently what they should do, they have said 1st June 2018 for intrastate, maybe after 1st April interstate implemented, 6 months time period, it must be tested first.
Yes.
Because if tax evasion happen, it can happen interstate.
Right.
Intrastate, basically you are within the state. Let's start with after 6 months, starting from 1st October, and let's have roadmap ready. It should not be just you dreamed of without infrastructure ready. We have seen GST and failure. Now we should not succeed in a way of e-way bill, and what message we are giving to the trade.
Correct. Absolutely.
We are giving wrong message that it is not good and simple, but stated to be by Honorable Prime Minister, good and simple tax. Since you wanted the alternative, I thought of this line.
Mr. Sridhar, the
robust architecture, as
right.
is saying,
A very interesting point he also touched, that interest rate, let's forget about it. Interest rate, the economic service said, for the first time, the interest rate trade, it accounts for 60% of the total transaction.
Yes, IGST money locked up, that is the reason 35,000
crore. So, having known this fact, right, what will be your solution?
See, actually, as of now, there's one more small ad I think I would like to give, that not only they should do a trial run. You remember we discussed in one of our earlier programs, the APIs for the e-way bill have not been released. Let them not release the API. I have one other take on this, a different take from an industry perspective, not from a practitioner's perspective or from government side, which is Majumder says. See, what I would like to say is this. If you release an API, investment is made. Okay. Now, if you release an API, there are hundreds of people who are ASP providers. They will work on the API, they will come out with a solution. As Bimal suspects that if there is going to be another problem before October, now if you only work on an Excel solution, it's minimal investment. You release the API and people try to connect it through an ASP solution, further investment.
Yes.
So let us keep it more basic, only for April to October, only for interest rate. Let's see how it works, and then release the API slowly. Let people prepare for APIs, because you know what happened to the APIs that is released for GSTR 1, 2, 3. People have made investments. Their respective, whether it is, if it is not company which is controlled by the board or company limited by shares and quoted on a recognized stock exchange, their board members, their audit committees are going to stand up and ask the CFO, please sir, please explain, you have invested 6-7 million on this. I am in the audit committee, I have the right to know what you have done with this money. This is public money, it's not your private money.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's a public company limited by shares, quoted on recognized stock exchange.
Yes.
Somebody in the audit committee can stand up and ask this concerned CFO, whoever it may be, please answer me, where is the, you spent so much on doing an ASP solution, you could have done with an Excel solution on GSTR 1, 2, 3. You have wasted so much of time and you have wasted so much of money.
This is a valid question. Yes, absolutely. Sir, another interesting aspect, maybe you could answer it, sir. That, maybe it's an e-way bill, because this going by the CBEC experience of last several decades, while implementing central excise, etc. So there are certain items which are highly sensitive or evasion prone, to be precise, because e-way bill is to prevent evasion. So once maybe the GST Council or CBEC could have probably convinced the GST Council that these are the following 20 items. We should make a beginning only with these 20 items at all India level, rather than making it uniform for traders, for large, everybody, and then allowing the GSTN or maybe the NIC portal to crash. We could have got, a phase manner implementation of e-way bill, perhaps. Going by the experience of, the way the GSTN collapsed and it could not take off. So maybe it's an e-way bill side.
Well, I would say that all my friends here and the anchors,
sir,
all of you have been very generous to e-way bill. You are only saying the e-way bill should be there, but these steps. Bimal is saying that after 2 months, he has suggested some modification. But my viewpoint on this is very clear. The main reason of e-way bill was the interstate when different states had different rates of duty, and to check the evasion. That's why they used to check. Now here the counter is saying that now, that's why we are not keeping any checkposts. As if, I will hit you, but I'm not hitting you at the sensitive parts. So checkposts will be not with that, but anywhere in the road you can check.
Right.
So I think this is not necessary.
On this note, sir, on e-way bill, let's wind up. Let me thank my 4 guests for making very valuable contribution. What are the possible routes which the GST Council may approve in order to make the e-way bill work efficiently? In any case, we have been talking about it, and we knew that probably the economy doesn't need another round of disruption. Unfortunately, this disruption was it was like an earthquake, only for a few hours. It has gone, but we are scared that probably it may come back again. The e-way bill, if the GST Council strongly believes that this is one tool which has to be in place in order to prevent tax evasion, then probably it should be done in a phase manner, or maybe certain sensitive items could be identified. It should be done actually one by one, step by step, state, first for the intrastate, rather interstate and then intrastate, as Mr. Bimal rightly suggested that this is one area which requires very serious preparation. Having gone through this bad experience of GSTN, probably, this time Finance Minister has saved GSTN from service tax also with retrospective amendment. So looking at the GSTN needs to give better service to the nation, to the taxpayer community, and as Mr. Puneet rightly suggested that quite a few interesting changes have been done with respect to this adjudication in the customs matter. On one point, all the 4 domain experts are of uniform opinion that whatever rate changes have been done, the tariff wall is for protection, which is the global trend right now, and maybe we are within our rights, India is within our rights without violating the WTO regulations to protect our own domestic industries, to generate employment, income, etc. So on that front, Finance Minister deserves a little pat that he has done a very good job, but he has also disappointed the indirect tax community across the country by not coming up with some kind of roadmap on the GST, which the nation was looking forward to. Maybe he will do it very soon at the next meeting. Thanking you all for watching TIOL Tube.